Hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm at home and today I am making pesto, but I'm making it a little different. I'm doing it with ramps. And ramps are really hard to find, so there's always a substitute. This is actually my basil pesto recipe, and you can swap any kind of leafy green instead of ramps, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. You could use basil, you could use spinach, you could use kale. I've even made pesto with a can of artichokes, which is something that is a pantry staple. But I want to talk about ramps a little bit because they're really special. Ramps are wild green onions, and I foraged for these. I went out into the woods and I dug them up out of the ground. They still have their roots on them, and it's really kind of not cool to dig up ramps with roots, but I did it. I did it this one time because I'm going to separate the leaves from the bulbs, and I'm going to plant these bulbs in my backyard so that I can hopefully cultivate my own ramps year after year, because they only grow in early spring. As soon as the frost ends, ramps start to pop up. And if you know what you're looking for, you can really find them out in the wild. These were actually
on the side of the road in New Jersey.
I have a secret spot where I find my ramps, thanks to Mike Zachara, who sort of told me his secret spot, or one of them, because nobody ever divulges their secret ramp spot. But they can be found on the side of the road if you know what you're looking for. It's typically looks like this. It's two big long leaves that are coming out of the soil, and if you just lightly dig them up, then you pull up the bulb, which you're really not supposed to do. I will never do it again. I did it intentionally this time because I wanted to replant. So this is what it looks like to make the pesto. I am going to cut right about here, and then this is what's going to go back in the ground. So I'll put them there, and then I have another bunch, and I'm going to do the same thing and put these back. And from what I understand, and this is about 4 ounces of stems from ramps. And as I mentioned, I'm going to actually cut these in half. Cut these a little bit more so they're easier to mix in the food processor. These are just sort of like the measurement for a green, and you can use basil, which is something that I'm going to start to plant in my garden soon, or spinach or kale. I've even used a can of artichokes. So I have my ramp greens in here, and the flavor of ramps is incredible. I'm adding some Parmesan cheese, about half a cup, and I'm adding toasted almonds, about a half a cup, and then I'm going to zest and juice half of a lemon. I like adding lemon to this. I think it adds a really nice brightness. It's not traditional. Pesto is an Italian uncooked sauce. That's literally what it means. It's a raw sauce, and it's from Liguria, the Ligurian section of Italy. And it's traditionally made in a mortar and pestle, and it is basil based. So I am breaking all the rules like I always do.
You have almonds in there?
Yeah, I used almonds. The ingredients that I posted yesterday had walnuts. I really like walnuts with this, but I opened my bag of walnuts, which maybe I've had for about a year in my pantry, and they tasted terrible. They were rancid, so I threw them away, and I always have almonds, so I used almonds instead. So this is everything right here. I'm going to add a nice pinch of salt, and I'm going to turn my motor on. I'm just going to pulse it just to combine it. And that's really all I want to do at this point. And then I'm going to add some olive oil, about a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to turn it on. And a lot of times when you're using a food processor, you have to scrape the sides down because it's not always even mixing. So scraping that down, I think I'm going to take this opportunity to taste it to see if I need to add anything. And again, this is a very loose recipe. I mean, you can use, as much or little cheese as you want, or nuts. I mean, find what you like in your pesto and then go for it. I think this is really delicious. Maybe tiny, tiny pinch of salt. It's really good. I wish you could all try it.
So our ramps, what month are we in? Are they an April thing or a May thing?
Yeah, so ramps, as soon as the weather starts to get a little warm, ramps start to grow. They're one of the earliest things that start to poke up out of the ground after the frost ends. And they're amazing. I mean, they really only last until it starts to get hot. And so right now it's definitely ramp season, and I would say it'll go through May, like maybe like April and May is ramp season. So what I'm doing right now is plating my pesto, and there are two ways to do this that I really like to do. One is sort of like a little appetizer. So I just put my ramp pesto in a bowl, and I have some toast, my sourdough bread that I toasted up, and all you have to do is that, and you have a delicious appetizer. So Katie, I'm gonna put that right there for you to taste. And then I'm gonna show you how to make it into a pasta, because we're gonna have this for dinner tonight.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh, good.
It's so good.
I'm so glad. So this is how you do it as a pasta dish, which is a really great way to stretch your pesto. I mean, this is so versatile. Most of the ingredients you already have in your pantry. I cooked up some penne, and you can cook any kind of pasta that you want. Here's a little trick when you're putting pesto in with your pasta. You want to save some of the starchy cooking water. I always reserve about a cup, and you can see, look how cloudy that is. That's all the starch that came out of the water, and that's what's going to thicken up the pasta. The starch combines with all of this delicious pesto, and it literally makes a sauce. So I'm going to add a little bit of the pesto and a little bit of this starchy water. I would say if I was cooking, you know, if I was mixing a whole pound of penne, not just an individual serving, I would use maybe a half a cup. I might have actually used a little bit too much water.
No
here.
such thing. Oh, I think you meant pesto.
No, and of course everything's better when it's warm. This is kind of room temperature because I just put it out about a half an hour ago, but I think you get the idea. Oh, and Katie, I meant to put aside a couple of ramp leaves and I forgot.
What,
Anyway,
to garnish?
Yeah, for garnish. I wanted to save a few ramp leaves. Oh well. So this is basically what the dish looks like, assembled, and then it's always nice to put a little extra Parmesan cheese on top. You could use Parmesan cheese or Pecorino Romano. Either one is fine. They're both Italian. Kind of like echoing the Italian sentiment in this dish.
We have Matt Iorio on who thinks that they're very different. Actually, I think he'd be upset to hear you say that.
Matt, I know. What would your notice say?
He likes pecorino.
I love pecorino. Pecorino's great. Parmesan is a little bit nuttier. Pecorino's a little bit sharper. It's a personal preference. Let's see, I have one little teeny tiny fork. I'm going to take a taste of this. So this is the delicious pesto made with ramps. This is going to be out of season soon, so I'm enjoying it. If you can find ramps and forage for them, great. If you can't, so many other options. So incredible. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.